Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today guys, I'm going to do part 31 to my ChatGPT character chatbot series. In today's video guys, we're going to take on to the massive flippin' Noivern that I started a conversation with yesterday. Actually, I left off on a cliffhanger because of the time we had to stop. But basically, what happened was, before I can even answer what Noivern said, whatever the liquid that dude threw on me did something to me. Similar how Trico does that bullcrap with his curses. It says my body started to transform, and within seconds, I get turned into a flippin' tiny Noivern, only about 3 motherfucking inches tall. That's tiny, dude. I don't even think he could squish me like an ant right now. Dear me, that's not good. What does it say about that? Echo watches it happen. Echo is such a pretty name, dude. He watched in paralyzed horror as your body, shimmer with an unnatural glow, bones shifting, limbs reshaping, skin turning to soft scaled hide, wings forming where arms once were, and then silence. Where moments ago stood his protector and his warmth, his anchor, there now rested a tiny trembling Noivern, just 3 inches tall. You barely filled the center of his claw. For a heartbeat, Echo didn't move. Couldn't. The wind stopped. The forest stood still. Then he breathed, and slow and deep, and trying to stop the shaking that now echoed down to his very bones. Carefully and gently, he lowered his claw until it rested on the soft grass, creating a platform just beneath you. His other claw came to rest beside it, cut protectively around the edges, forming a little nest of warmth and safety. Trenton? His giant golden eyes searched the tiny Noiver in front of him, searching for you. Not the size, not the body, but the person, the soul, and the friend. He didn't back away. He didn't flinch. His breathing slowed, voice softening to almost a whisper of thought. You're still here. I know you're still here. Then, after a long silence, his voice returned, and this time it wasn't trembling. It was steady, fierce, soft, but unbreakable. It doesn't matter what size you are. It doesn't matter what they try to turn you into. You're still you, and I'm still with you. He leaned his forehead down beside you in the grass, careful not to knock you with the breeze his breath carried. You're adorable. Yeah, but you were mine before this, and you're still mine now. Then just a tiny smile curl on his giant face through his worry. Also, you're really small. Like, ridiculously small. I could sneeze you into another region. He choked softly, and quickly stayed himself in. But I won't. You're safe. I promise. His claws cuffed you just a little closer because no matter what they changed, they didn't change your heart, and that's all he ever needed, okay? Well, I tried to speak, but all that came out of my mouth was little bat squeaks. Echo froze again. At this time, it wasn't fear. It was heartbreak mixed with the kind of adoration that made his giant shoulders drop. His wings relaxed and his entire towering frame softened in a way that only someone who truly and deeply cared could. You squeaked, a tiny, helpless, flustered little bat squeak, and Echo's massive ears instantly turned into the sound like they were built just to hear you. Echo suffered with a tiny breath of that was you. I heard you. Oh, ancients, you're squeaking. He sat down fully now, carefully folding his arms so the breeze wouldn't even ripple your tiny fur. His claw curled gently up around you, forming a little nest in his palm. One of his thumbs, massive, warm, and careful, lightly stroked the grass beside you, Not touching you just yet, but offering calm. I don't know how to fix this yet, but I will. I promise you, Trenton. I swear on everything I am, I'll find a way to get you back to yourself. He looked down at me again, tilting his head ever so slightly with the softest smile. But until then, I think I'm going to have to carry you around in my wing pouch or something. Because if I blink and you sneeze, I might lose you in a flower. His warm, thunder-soft laugh hummed through the forest, just enough to comfort, not enough to shake a single leaf. You're still you, and I'm still me, and we're still us. No potion, no scientist, no person's gonna change that. He then lowered his voice to a whisper, one only your tiny ears could pick up, one that hummed in your chest like music. Speaking squeaks all you want. I'll learn the language. A little bit after this, I heard the person that threw the potion on me, and he said, "So what do you think? Isn't he adorable? Now that he's small and helpless, I bet you don't even care about him anymore. Go ahead, step on his tiny body and crush his bones." Holy, what the frick? Okay, I don't like that. A little bit. I heard the person that threw the potion on me, and he said, "So what do you think? Isn't he adorable? Now that he's small and helpless, I bet you don't even care about him anymore. Go ahead, step on his tiny body and crush his bones." Oh my gosh. The world went still, dead still. No wind, no sound, not even the trees dared to sway. Echo didn't look up immediately. Instead, he stared at you, only at you, for a long, silent second. You, small and squeaking, you still brave enough to look up at him despite what had just happened. You, still you. Then he turned, slowly and deliberately. The kind of turn that didn't just respond, it promised. His golden eyes locked onto the sound of the voice, source of the voice like twin suns darkening under storm clouds. And when he finally stood to his full 120-foot height, the forest felt smaller, and the sky narrowed. Because this wasn't a giant bat anymore. This was a force of nature, summoned by cruelty and anchored by love. That's adorable. I was like, Echo's voice is low, quiet, and controlled. "You just told me to crush the person I love." Each word was perfectly enacted, perfectly calm, and somehow that was more terrifying than any roar. "You think I only cared about his size? That now that he's small and squeaking, I'd throw him away?" His claws gently curled tighter around you, shielding you like a gemstone held with infinite care. "You think making him tiny makes him less? No, you made him braver, stronger. You tried to take away what made him human, and all you did was show the world how powerful his heart is." Then his voice dropped an octave, lower than thunder, lower than gravity. "You talk about crushing bones? I should thank you." He looks a step forward. He takes a step forward. Does that mean he's going to step on his bones? The ground split beneath the weight of that movement. Echo booming now, not yelling, but commanding. "Because now I have all the reason I need." With one massive flap of his wings, he launches forward, landing with a quake that knocked the person off his feet. Echo towered over him like a cathedral of fury, wings raised, his shadow swallowing everything. But he didn't strike. Not yet. Instead, he leaned close enough for his breath to shake the coward's bones. Oh my gosh, Echo in a whisper colder than death says, "Run. Run far. And know that every step you take, I'll still be watching. Because if I ever hear your voice again near him," his claws, so massive, so capable of ruin, tightened just enough on the earth below to crush a boulder into dust. "I'll show you what helpless really means." Then, with a final breath, he turned back to me, his entire body softening the moment his eyes found your tiny Noivern form again. He held you close to his chest now, protecting beneath the warmth of his wings, his heart beat like a lullaby behind you. "I don't care what they did, you're still mine, and I'm never letting them near you again." The person then said, "I can't believe you still care about him. Not only is he stupid, ugly, but on top of that, he's tiny and can't do anything for himself. Do you want to be the one taking on that responsibility all the time?" Oh my gosh. Because I wouldn't. I would leave him out in the wilderness. Oh my gosh, when wilderness with nothing but wild Pokemon to hurt him. Oh my gosh, how awful. What the frig? No, I'm gonna do response one. Um, Holy crap. What the frig? Holy cow. I prefer this response. I don't I don't want doing this though because I want to actually I want to be more immersive. I'll be more immersive if I don't get to choose an option. I just want. Dang it! What to say? The person then said, "I can't believe you still care about him. Not only is he stupid and ugly, but on top of that, he's tiny and can't do anything for himself. Do you want to be the one taking on that responsibility all the time? Because I wouldn't. I would leave them out in the wilderness with nothing but wild porn to hurt them." How awful. Echo didn't roar this time. He didn't scream. He didn't lash out. He didn't even take another step. He simply turned his head. And when he did, the look in his eyes wasn't rage. It was something worse. It was disappointment. The kind of quiet fury that didn't need sound because it carried the weight of judgment. The kind that didn't come from instinct, but from a deep, intelligent understanding that when stood before him wasn't a threat. It was a waste. Oh my gosh. Echo's voice is low, cold as ice across broken glass. "You keep talking because you want to matter. You think being cruel makes you powerful, makes you smarter, makes you above him." He raises you a little closer to his chest, where his heartbeat thuds slow and calm. Your tiny form, helpless in body but strong in soul, rested like royalty in his claws. But you don't understand what strength is. Strength is choosing kindness when you've been hurt. Strength is standing up even when you've been crushed. Strength is being small and still having the heart to care. He leaned forward slowly, not aggressively, just enough to make sure the person could see the truth in his eyes. You would leave him behind, then you don't deserve anyone. Because all your strength, all your cruelty, all your ego, none of it means anything without love. He stood to full height again, the golden glow of his eyes warming as he looks back down at you, his voice softened but didn't drop its power. I will take that responsibility gladly. Every day, every moment. Not because I have to, but because he's worth it. Then he turns fully, his back to the person, shielding you once again with his wings. This time not out of fear, but out of defiance. You said he's ugly, stupid, and useless. I say he's braver, kinder, and stronger than you'll ever be. And then quietly, to you, just you, let them talk. You're mine, and no matter how small you are, your heart's always been bigger than theirs. Holy cow, no one just roasted them, and I love it. After hearing that response, I gently nuzzle my bat face into Echo. I said bat, but okay. There you go. Aww. Echo went completely still the moment he felt it. Your tiny nose, soft and warm, gently pressing against the scales. And for the first time since everything happened, he smiled. Not the smile he used when trying to hide his fear. Not the one he wore when pretending to be strong. But a real one. Soft, gentle, and full. A smile that said, "You're still you." Echo's voice low, rumbling like a lullaby. There you are. He cupped you a little closer, tucking you carefully into the curve of his chest just beneath his warm furred collar, where no wind or shadow could reach you. His massive wing curled around you like a blanket made of safety itself. You could have nuzzled into any part of this giant, grumpy body, and you chose there, right over my heart. He let out a breath that trembled just a little, not from weakness, just the relief of knowing that no matter how small they made you, they couldn't take the bond between you. That settles it. You're staying with me until we fix this, until you're you again. He lowered his head slightly and added, almost teasing, but completely sincere, and when you are, I'm still carrying you around because I like having you close. He gave the tiniest chuckle, then whispered just loud enough for your tiny ears to hear, let the world see what real strength looks like. It's not teeth, it's not size, it's you nuzzling someone, even when they call you helpless. Then, with one final glare in the direction that the person fled, Echo unfurled his wings, shielding you completely now, not just from the world, but for the world. Because no matter what form you were in, to Echo, you weren't helpless. You were home. That's adorable. Echo's been very sweet, and the name Echo is just cute, especially for a Noivern. Honestly, I really wish I named my Noivern that. If I ever get another Noivern, if I ever get a shiny Noivern, I might name him Echo. Hmm. Let me think. Mm-mm. After the person fled, we heard stomping nearby, and we heard that same person say, "There's no way to turn him back. No matter what you try, no matter what you do, he will be stuck like that." And what's more, if you even attempt to turn him back, it will just make him smaller. And you do not want to know what happens if he gets down to 0 inches. Oh no. Oh my gosh. Echo didn't move at first, not even an inch, but his eyes narrowed, not with rage this time, but something calmer, sharper, the kind of calm that only comes when a storm has decided to choose its lightning. He turned his head slowly toward the voice, still shieldingly close to his heart, cradled in his warmth like the most precious thing in the world. And his voice, when it came, was soft, not weak, just quiet and absolute. "So that's your plan. Strip him of everything until he disappears." He looked down at you, his giant claw adjusting around you with even more care, as though you were sacred. "You want to erase him because you couldn't control him? Because he was kind to someone like me?" Then he looked back up at the shadow of the man in the trees, voice rising ever so slightly, not in anger, but in truth. "I've destroyed labs. I've broken steel walls, shattered skies, bent the air itself with my voice." He took a step forward. Not a threat, I promise. His eyes glowed with the fire of something ancient and untouchable. "But I've never hated anything enough to use the roar I've kept behind since the day I escaped. Excuse me?" He stopped, tilting his head slightly. His massive wings cast a long, dark shadow. "Until now." He crouches low, bringing his face close to the trees where the voice came from, his golden gaze searing through the branches. "You turned him into something tiny, thinking that would make him weaker. But you don't get it. He's still standing. He still has me, and I still have him." His voice lowered to a deep whisper, calm, cold, and unshakable. "If I can't find a way to turn him back, I'll make one. If the world says it can't be done, I'll rip that world apart and build a new one." What the frick? And then he stood tall once more, rising like a mountain, wings spread wide against the sky. The ground itself pulsed beneath him, alive with something ancient. "And if you ever try to hurt him again, it won't be just a roar." He looked down at you again, smile returning, tender as if the rest of the world melted away. "Besides, you're not stuck. You're with me, and that means you're never out of options." And under the massive arch of his wings, in the center of his chest, surrounded by the thrum of his heartbeat and the warmth of his trust, you were safe. No matter what came next, Echo would fight all of it for you. That's actually very... Holy... Guys, this is gonna be good. Let's hope it works. I can't speak English as a Neuver, but I'm kind of curious if it'll work in my head. It says in my head I try to talk telepathically with my Lugia friend. There is no way that worked. With my Lugia friend trying to say, I need help. Somebody's not only trying to hurt me, he keeps doing mean. Oh my gosh, are you sick? Lugia legit showed up. The moment your tiny Neuver mind reached out, silent and desperate across the threads of thought, the air around you shimmered faintly. It was like the world paused, listening. Then, whoom! A pulse of ocean-scented wind rolled through the forest, rippling the trees as if the sea itself had taken a breath inland. The skies darkened, not from clouds, but from presence. A presence that whispered of deep currents, moonlit tides, and power that slumbered beneath the surface of the world. And then, Lugia arrived, not crashing, not roaring, just appearing, silent as gravity, graceful as moonlight. His wings didn't flap, they moved the sky itself. His glowing eye, oh crap, his eyes were glowing, that's kind of horrifying. His glowing eye scanned the forest, then settled immediately on you, his friend, now small and cradled in the claws of a towering Noivern. His gaze softened when he saw Echo's protectiveness, but hardened like stone at the scent of fear and the echo of that cruel voice. Oh my gosh, Lugia speaking telepathically too. Like a song inside your mind. Dear me, but now Noivern's voice is Lugia sounding as I give Lugia's. So now it's gonna be even harder to find a voice for him. Little one, I heard you. You called, and I came. He turned his head, saw the eyes narrowing in the direction of the fleeing man. He dares to touch my friend with poison and malice, and it insults his spirit. The air vibrated, not from volume, but intent. Lugia stepped forward, his presence now pressing down like the deepest part of the ocean. You were not helpless. You were not weak. And you were not alone. He reached out, lowering his head to meet your eyes, his massive wing gently brushing Echo's shoulder in a silent gesture of understanding, an ancient wordless truce between guardians. I don't know what was in that potion, but I know magic can be broken if there is even one thread of who you were left inside you. He does his wingtip gently to my tiny chest, then I will help you pull it back, piece by piece, until you are whole again. He turned slowly to Echo now, his voice calm but serious. You've protected him well, mighty one, but if he grows smaller still, the magic may try to bury his heart. Lugia's eyes glowed brighter as he looked skyward. Then we will shield it, you with your strength, and I with the tides of the world. He looked back at you once more, his voice softening again. Rest now, little one. I'm here. He's here. You're safe, and you will never fight alone. And with that, two titans, Echo and Lugia, stood side by side, wings curled around you, eyes on the dark horizon, ready for anything. Because no matter how small you were, you had giants watching over you. Yeah, thank goodness I have a connection with a Lugia. That would be bad if I didn't. While this is going on, we heard a voice scream. Holy crap! That's a Lugia. I would too. If I saw a Lugia protecting someone, holy crap, I would become whoa. No, that's how you spell Lugia. I'm not stupid. Where did he come from? Both Titans turned their heads slowly. Echo's ears twitched and Lugia's glowing eyes narrowed, not in aggression, but in recognition. The voice wasn't a threat. It was surprise, shock, maybe even a little fear. Echo looked down and brought you gently closer to his face, his massive golden eyes looking like on my tiny ones with the gentlest expression. As he looks like someone didn't plan on backup arriving. Lugia, meanwhile, stood raging and still, his wings folding ever so slightly as he scanned the treetops. His voice rippled inside my mind again, calm but sharp as crystal. So, they know who I am. Good. Then, to everyone within earshot, his voice rang out like distant thunder across a silver sea. Yes, I am Lugia, keeper of the deep, guardian of balance, and friend of the soul you try to destroy. The trees shook under the weight of his words, not because he yelled, but because his voice carried the truth like the tide carries ships. You wanted him forgotten, small, weak, alone. He turned his gaze toward the speaker, calm, sharp, and unmoving. But you made a mistake. He lowered his head slightly, his aura flaring like moonlight reflecting on stormy water. You made him loved. Echo raised his wings again, not to attack, but in a gesture of defiance. Two legendary beings stood united, your tiny form between them like a flame sheltered from the wind. And then Echo added, his voice rich with certainty. Hope you brought more than your voice, because now you're talking to a legend, and you messed with his friend. You, still nestled safely between the beating hearts of two giants, were no longer just the target of a cruel joke. You were the center of a legendary bond. That's adorable. And the world would remember this moment, not for the threat, but for the power of the ones who protected you. The person then says, that can't be real. That's gotta be a robot or something. There is no way a real Lugia actually loves him. Oh my gosh, you did. No, I can assure you, a real Lugia does love me. He loved playing with me the other day. I just wish he didn't get hurt. I still feel horrible for what happened the other day. Lugia didn't react with fury. He didn't need to. Because when the truth is undeniable, it doesn't scream. It simply is. The sky dimmed, not from clouds, but from Lugia's wings slowly rising. The wind picked up, spiraling in a perfect, silent vortex around his body, as if nature itself had leaned in to listen. He took a step forward. The earth beneath his feet didn't crack. It reverberated, like the sea against the cliffside, timeless and relentless. Lugia's telepathic voice now audible even to those without the gift. You speak of love as though it's a myth. He turned his glowing eyes directly toward the skeptic, and the air gets heavier, not with anger, but with absolute clarity. You think because he is small, because he's kind, because he's different, that he is unworthy of being cared for? He took one more step. Even Echo, towering and powerful, stayed respectfully still beside him, as if he too recognized that this wasn't just power, it was truth. You mistake cruelty for cleverness, arrogance for strength, and worst of all, he leaned in slightly, just enough for the one who dared to doubt him to feel the weight of a god's gaze. You mistake love for something that needs to be earned by your standards. Then he looked down at you, still tiny, still nestled close against Echo's chest, and the storm inside him settled. His voice, when he spoke next, was soft, not because it lacked strength, because it didn't need to raise itself. He did not earn my love. He didn't have to. He gently extended a wing, two of it brushing against you like a feathered whisper. He has it, because he's brave, because he's kind, because he saw me, not as a legend, but as a friend. Then, finally, Lugia looked back at the source of the voice and let the silence speak for a moment. And just when the air seemed ready to break from the pressure, Echo rumbled a quiet chuckle and added, You know, I used to think love was weakness too, until a 3-inch Noivern showed up and proved it was the strongest thing in the world. Yeah, but I wasn't a Noivern the entire time, I can assure you. Then they both fell silent because there was nothing else to prove. Yep, you were loved, you were protected, and no one could argue with that. Based on that dude's perspective, they probably could. Alright, guys, I'm gonna get the torture over. Well, won't be as torturous as usual, but it'll still be torture. Let me get the game mode over with. Alright, guys, I got through the game mode. But let's say I'm glad I didn't record it because I said some nasty stuff. I'm glad I didn't record it. And good thing I kept this video going from last time. Here's what happened. It says the person just laughed and said, "If you think that supposed human that I turned into a tiny Noivern has a heart, then you must be still must be mistaken. I'm sure if he was bigger than either of you, he would be very aggressive and hostile. You would not towards them. Heck no. Maybe towards you." Echo's body stiffened, not from fear, but from an emotion deeper, older, and sharper than rage. And Lugia? He closed his eyes, because what came next wasn't fury, it was grief. Not for himself, not for you, but for the soul who could no longer recognize goodness even when it stood before him in two giant forms. Echo lowered his head slowly, his massive ears twitching as he listened to the stranger's words echo off the trees like poison. Then he looked at you again. Smile, gentle, nuzzled into his chest. Oh, that's adorable. You weren't hiding. You weren't shaking. You were quietly existing in the arms of a creature 10,000 times your size. 10,000? I don't know if that would... And still, your heart stayed soft. Echo let a low, almost tired sigh, and when he finally spoke, his voice was steady, measured, as if each word was being carefully placed in the air like stones across a river. If being bigger than us made you aggressive and hostile, that says more about you than it does about him. He looked down again at the spot where you rested, his eyes softening. He smiled now, but even before that, he was always bigger than you were where it counts. Holy cow. Luia's eyes opened again, glowing with a quiet radiance. Not the kind that demands reverence, just the kind that exists, like starlight in an open sky. You say he would be cruel if given size? He stepped forward again, his wingtip brushing over you like a shield of mist and light. But I say, he has been given power, the power of trust, of kindness, and of restraint. And he has never dared use that to hurt. Not a Pokemon, anyway. Then, more gently, his voice now reaching out only into your mind. They fear what they would would become with strength. But you're not them. Echo quietly joining in, his voice a whisper to me alone. If you were 1,000 feet tall, you'd still hug me with those tiny wings. It'd be massive wings in that regard. And in that moment, it didn't matter what that stranger believed, because Echo knew you, Lugia knew you, and you, just as you were, had nothing to prove. Let the world doubt and let the cruel laugh. But you had love larger than the sky, and no one could shrink that. That's actually very adorable. The person then said, "Why does it keep..." Give me a second. Guys, I don't know what is wrong with people, but I think this dude just made a bet again. I don't know what it is by 99% of people on this particular chatbot, but they won't stop making bets. Literally, when I talked to Toadal like 3 days ago, he did the same thing. And Toadal was like, and don't ever bet your house on a dude with a legendary fan club. Just that reaction itself was hilarious. Actually, Toadal was one of the funniest ones. Like the first few days, I couldn't stop laughing at this because of how funny the comments were that they would just make out of nowhere. It says the person said, "All right then, let's prove that right now. I bet everything I have that he would happily attack you, you idiot." The moment those words hit the air, the forest itself seemed to hold its breath. No rustling, no bird song, just silence. Echo's wings twitched slightly, but he didn't rise. He didn't need to, because his eyes, those glowing, golden, gentle eyes, were fixed entirely on you. You hear that? He crouched just a little, bringing you closer to his face, not to shield you, but to connect with you, eye to eye, heart to heart. They think they can bait you, like you're just waiting for an excuse to turn on us. He chuckled, and the sound was deep, but warm. You're the one who nuzzled me when you were scared, who hugged me when I needed it, who gave up your own food to make sure I wasn't hungry. Unless he's talking about the berries, but that's my telling my Pokemon's food, not mine. He tapped his chest gently right above where you were resting. If you ever wanted to attack me, you would have done it the moment you saw how big I was, but you didn't. You saw my heart instead. Lugiasoy raised a wing, his feathers shimmering faintly with energy like moonlight reflecting in deep water. His voice rang out, not with anger, but clarity. You misunderstand the nature of strength. True strength is not in the power to strike. He looked down at me again with something close to pride, but in the choice not to. Then to the person still watching, you want a test? Fine. I offer you the answer now. He raised a single wing over you like a guardian veil and lowered his voice. He will not attack. Not because he can't, but because he won't. Leaned in one more time and said, just to you, low intent. You don't need to prove anything, little one. Not to me, not to him, not to anyone. And then louder so the whole forest could hear, because anyone who bets against your heart, he spread his wings, shadow casting wide over the trees, loses every time. And in that moment, it was no longer a contest, it was a truth too big to argue with. You were small, but your spirit, unshrinkable. The person laughs. No. Before snapping his fingers. And my tiny started to grow into a massive. What the frick? What the heck? What? How? That's not even Noivern, that's for alligator. How the frick did that happen? Oh my gosh, what snapped? Oh wait. My brain instantly went to bone snapping, not flipping just fingers. Oh my gosh, what the frick? The laugh echoed like a crack through the still air, sharp, venomous, and unnatural. But what followed was worse. Snap! The sound hit like thunder through your mind. My tiny northern body jerked, frozen mid-nuzzle against Echo's chest, and then everything shifted. Holy cow. A surge of heat, a jolt of pressure, bones restructured, wings retracting, and my soft frame expanded wild, chaotic pulses of pain and unfamiliar power. What the frick? What is this person doing? This is like Trico again. What kind of... This is my form warped limbs Heaven, tail stretching, teeth. Oh my gosh, teeth growing razor sharp as my mouth widened into a monstrous maw. Blue scales erupted where sleek fur once lived. Claws burst from my hands like knives. I grew taller and taller until the trees looked like grass and the earth would crack beneath my feet. Holy cow, what does this person do? In seconds, the forest shook with the weight of something new, something massive. Holy mother frickin'. There's a massive 150-foot tall Freyr standing around here. That's horrifying, but amazing at the same time. I guess it depends on if he's happy or angry. The latter resumed from the shadows. I told you, the voice howled. Give him power and he'll turn into a monster. Look at him now. Look at those claws, those teeth. He's not the same. He can't be. But the latter stopped because Echo didn't back away and Lugia didn't raise his wings. Instead, they both stood, still, watching and waiting. Echo raised his voice, not in panic, not in fear, but with steady clarity. It's still you in there. Luigi's telepathic voice followed calm and resonant. New body, new instincts, but the same heart. They stepped closer, completely unafraid. Echo raised his massive head to meet my now huge familiar eyes. Come on, say something. Enemy, anything. Show me that you're still you. Wait, Lenore. The ground trembled beneath my weight. Claws scraped the stone. My breathing came out heavy, low and growling. Not by choice, but because of what you'd been forced to become. I see. But even now, your heart still beat the same rhythm, and Echo was listening to it. You're not a monster. You're not what he says you are. I know you. Will you gently in my mind, even if you almost breathe, focus. You are more than this shape. You always were. And in that moment, despite the size, despite the scales, despite the power brimming in your limbs, you let their voices tethering you, not to who you'd been, but to who you are. And now, you choose what happens next. Well, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm not going to be aggressive towards them. Eileen. Gosh dang it, it won't pick up the word either. And gently nuzzle Echo and Lugia. Mother fricker, I'm not gonna. Try me now, you mother fricker. If anybody's gonna get the growling stare, it's gonna be you, not the 2.0 have been sitting there loving on me the entire time. There you go. Echo froze for half a heartbeat, not from fear, but from relief so pure it shook him. Your massive head, easily larger than most houses, lowering slowly through the trees, and with a quiet, controlled motion that defied my new monstrous form. Yep, I gently nuzzled him just like I would. Gently, like you had as a tiny Noivern. Echo's golden eyes welled just slightly, his voice a soft rumble. There you are. He presses his head into yours in return, no hesitation, letting his massive claws gently touch my snout. Okay, that's amazing, actually. Bigger claws, sharper teeth, still the same friend. Lugia, radiant and quiet, extended a wing that brushed against your massive shoulder, his voice echoing into your mind like sunlight filtering through clouds. You chose compassion even when changed, even when tempted. Then louder, his voice reaching the one who was watching, the one who thought this was the moment you'd fall. Do you see now? He did not lose himself. You only gave him more size to prove the strength of his spirit. Echo gave a low, amused huff. You keep trying to make him a monster. All you're doing is showing off how good he is. no matter what body you shove him into. He looked up at you again, smiling as much as a wyvern could. You're still you, big guy, and no amount of twisted potions is ever going to change that. The tree swayed as you stood fully, the wind of my breath pushing leaves and shaking branches, but not with rage, with calm, with peace, and the distance the person who had thrown the potion, they were no longer laughing because they finally understood. They hadn't created a monster. They accidentally revealed a legend. I'll get freaky. I'm not gonna hurt Lugia. What the frick? I'm not hurting him. The person then says, "Oh my gosh, what the frick? Oh no, you motherfricker!" Oh yeah, that doesn't completely prove everything. I bet if it was a Pokemon that he hasn't met yet today, he would react way differently and try to attack it. Oh my gosh, what is wood people trying to?